BUATSI should have known what Zach was going to do. How many times did I talk about Zach's last fight when he kept falling on the canvas like he did yesterday? BUATSI is not world class. He's not world class. BUATSI's best wins are Craig Richards and Dan Aziz. He's just good standard domestic level at best. 32 years of age. Maybe that Callum Smith fight took a lot out of him because he took a lot of punishment. For all I care, they could have scored the fight to Zach Parker. I couldn't care less who won it. I couldn't care less.
I just don't give a fuck.
They were both inadequate, in my opinion, for a main event in the United Kingdom. BUATSI, no hand speed. His output was low. Just plodded forward. Didn't really know how to cut the ring off. Didn't change the levels from head to body. And looked very average. He was still calling for the winner of Benavides and Yard. But he had to set his goals more realistically. Challenge Lyndon Arthur for that European title. It's a fight Frank could make. Man managed to redeem themselves after that performance. BUATSI had his opportunity to fight Bivol for that WBA strap and turned it down for numerous reasons. I'm not going to go through it all. It's a catalogue of comical decisions. If he wasn't ready to fight for a world title back then, what was that, 2023? He certainly isn't right now. I believe BUATSI beat Lyndon Arthur in the amateurs. I'd have Lyndon a favourite to beat him. BUATSI has regressed so bad, and I don't think it's Virgil Hunter's fault, like other people do. I don't believe it is. No coach can change your essence that bad. The only things that really change fighters is when they get knocked out badly, like John Ruiz when he fought David Tua. That changed him radically. If you have to overhaul a fighter totally, you shouldn't fuck with him as a trainer. That's counterproductive. We can blame Virgil. We can go through all the reasons why BUATSI is underperforming. He's just not good enough. Did he underestimate Zach? Who cares? It's your job not to underestimate Zach. Yeah?
Zach Parker felt that he won the fight. A lot of people ringside had it for Zach. Did you feel that sort of fight was going to come from Zach Parker?
Most definitely. I warned Josh a long time ago in camp that he was going to try to steal the fight, that he was going to make it an ugly fight. I felt that the ref should have done his job and penalized him a couple of times, especially when he was falling and grabbing him around the ankles. That's dangerous. And if he'd have done his job and forced him to fight, I think it would have been a different fight.
So BUATSI was given the heads up by Virgil that Zach was going to try and steal the fight and make it an ugly fight, and no adjustments were made. Well, I could blame Virgil just as much as BUATSI for that. Where were the adjustments then? Especially if you knew what Zach was going to do. So Virgil told BUATSI that this Zach's going to go down. But what Virgil didn't tell us, what you had Joshua do to prep for them negative tactics that Zach was going to bring. Some referees will tell the fighters, cut out the messing around, the holding, because it's not a good look for the punters. It's a shame nobody gave this referee the heads up on Saturday, because that was an absolute stinker. Was Parker made an example of by the judges, by the system, and anyone else thinking of using similar tactics that you're not going to get away with it? I don't think BUATSI really likes boxing. I don't think he has a passion for it. He may have done at one stage of his life, but he doesn't have it no more. That's my opinion. If he's only boxing for the money, I understand that. But it's showing. There's no desire to improve, to impress us with a skill set. As for Zach Parker, I couldn't have cared less if they gave him the decision or not. The referee was even worse than BUATSI and worse than Parker, in all truth. BUATSI clearly cannot deal with angles or anything resembling quick feet. Frank Warren, I guarantee you right now, he don't want to promote Zach Parker as a main event fighter, a chief support fighter. I'm telling you that now. Same thing with Archie Sharp after he stunk the place out against Ryan Garner. Joshua BUATSI, who cares if he won or got the decision? Only dedicated fans of Joshua BUATSI want to see him fighting a world title right now. The bottom line is, both of them proved not to be world class. Now, Troy Jones was on the end of a bad decision, call it a robbery if you want, on the same card. Troy fought a good fight behind that jab, whacking up Liam Cameron with uppercuts, backing him up. In the second half of the contest, he let the initiative slip a little, but I had him way up on the scorecard. But they gave Liam Cameron the decision. Now, even though Troy didn't get the decision, the fans will want to see Troy fight again. There shouldn't be all this outcry for Zach Parker. The outcry should be for that kid Troy. You can give Zach Parker the decision. He was still the worst light heavyweight on the card. Worse than Arienka, who fought Dennis. Worse than Bradley Ray, who lost to Lyndon. And worse than Joshua BUATSI, although BUATSI was really piss poor. Liam Cameron got a decision over Troy Jones. Troy, he kind of abandoned that jab in the late stages, and Cameron looked a bit more solid on his feet when he was countering late on, and done some good countering, but not enough to claw the fight back. Troy Jones should have won that.
It's a robbery.
Lyndon Arthur, old man Bradley Ray out of his European title at 175. Lyndon found a home for that jab early in the game and was in control of the fight until he was caught by a big left hook in the second that put him down. Lyndon got up, survived the onslaught, but basically he made good adjustments with his feet, never letting Bradley set. But Lyndon wasn't retreating around the ring or anything like that. He was just taking little short steps to change the angle for when Bradley wanted to get off with his power shots. Apparently, Bradley, heavily influenced and inspired by Ricky Hatton, wanted to win in memory of Ricky. And he had this wild look in his eyes and he didn't give up. But he came in too square, got hit with too many uppercuts and was banged up around the left eye pretty bad. He tried switching stances, and his best combinations was when he led off with the jab and came back with that left hand. But it was too infrequent. Lyndon doubled, trebled up his jab, and then in the late stages, championship rounds, he busted up Bradley's nose pretty bad and had him on rubbery legs a couple of times, but Bradley didn't go anywhere. Got a great chin, but he took a lot of shots. And a fight like this is either a great lesson or what we're seeing is a fighter that's just going to go on to take a whole load of punches, which ain't going to be no good for him. Lyndon used his experience, 3 fights with Yard, World Championship fight with Bivol, and was just too skilled for Bradley Ray. They came up with a majority decision, but I figured they were going to do something like that. Lyndon was clearly the better boxer and proved it. This was the fight of the night, in my opinion.
I was where you are now 7 years ago when I was 19. Brother, relax, enjoy the moment. You can fight.
You enjoy your moment. You enjoy your moment.
I am the moment.
You ain't the moment.
I don't want to fight you. You want to fight me?
Yeah, why not?
You're 5 steps
Why
back.
not? Yeah, you're ahead of me, man. Yeah, fight me then. Show it. Who? Which one? Which one?
You're no good.
You're no good.
Yeah, you're no good. Yeah, you're no good.
You having a laugh?
Yeah, you are no good.
What do you mean I'm no good?
Boys. Easy.
Ezra seems like he wants to fight, although before they got into it, he said he wanted to fight Lyndon Arthur, who is now European champion. Maybe Willie wants that fight as well. But Willie, confusing, when they started mouthing off, he said, I'll have to fight you next then. And then after he said, it's you calling me out. I'm not sure if Willie really wants it. Although Willie's got more fights, he's younger than Ezra. He's 27, Ezra's 31. But it's an easy one for Frank to make, early 2026. Who would you put your money on? IFL cameraman, he dropped the camera. Bad timing, I guess. People wanted to see the brawl.
The cameraman had one job.
According to TalkSport, Derek Chisora versus Dillian Whyte reportedly off. Heavyweights Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte will not only not fight for the 3rd time on December 13th, as had been in the works, but Chisora will not fight on that date against anybody.
Speculation. Derek Chisora is injured. But if he was, why wouldn't they just come out and say it? Frank Warren wanted the Jarrell Miller fight for Derek's final fight. That's the one he wanted. It was all good to go. Then Derek introduced Dillian. There's a good chance that Frank Warren and DAZN saw the reaction from the fans that they didn't want the Derek and Dillian fight, especially after Dillian's last performance against Moses Itauma. It's not complicated. Derek turns 42 in December. According to the WBA, they're going to let Kubrat Pulev fight Murat Gassiev rather than his mandatory Moses Itauma. So it's no longer clear what's happening with Moses or Derek. Maybe either of them don't fight until next year. Has anyone else stopped caring about who Del Boy fights in his final fight?
Yes!
Where are all the media who got on their high horse when they heard Itauma was going to fight Pulev? Where are they? when the number 12 ranked contender gets an eliminator ahead of the number 1 contender? Where are they? The problem with boxing is the inconsistency from media, from fans, and the incompetence from the sanctioning bodies. The combination is a breeding ground for mediocrity all day.
Address with you, please, Frank. So Dan Raphael reported that the WBA are going to sanction Pulev and Gassiev with a special permit, which means Moses has to wait. Just get your thoughts on that.
Well, I've got to be honest, I'm pissed off with that, because why on earth would you put out the Pulev fight and allow another fight?
It doesn't make sense.
We're obviously making a decision what we're going to do as far as that's concerned, but we had a meeting this morning and we're going to be announcing something next week where we're at.
Okay. Does that mean you're going to be taking perhaps legal action with the WBA?
I'm not going into any of that yet. You just asked me and I've just told you what we're going to do. We're going to sit down and look at our options, but what they've done is ridiculous. Why even put the fight out? I mean, totally nuts.
Why order the fight and then let Pulev decide who he's going to fight? How does Pulev get to decide who he's going to fight? The WBA haven't even explained why they ordered the Itauma Pulev fight, and now they're backtracking. They haven't even explained why. Pulev hasn't explained why. The number 12 ranked contender somehow gets ahead of the mandatory number 1 ranked contender in your rankings. Hey, listen, you guys might be right. Dana might screw up boxing, but he can't screw it up no worse than these motherfuckers have already did. Bottom line. Matchroom card in Florida. Pat Brown went to 5-0, 5 inside the distance, knocking out Felix Valera in 2 rounds. Valera, former world title challenger at 175, losing on points to Bivol. He was capable at 175, but at 37 at cruiser, Pat Brown was expected to win this, and inside the distance, in my opinion. He traded jabs with Pat Brown, and Valera got a stiff jab himself, but Pat Brown, very stiff jab, strong right hand, strong left hook to the body, rocked Valero in the first round with a jab, and then opened up in the second and took him apart with 3 knockdowns. Eddie's going crazy about the win. It's hard to say. None of his opponents have had either the size or the movement to give clinical, objective takes on where Pat Brown is going. But on the eye test, he hits very hard. He's not trying to be at a punching range, so he just catches jabs, catches shots, and comes back with thunderous punches. He's very good to watch. All the other people who have stopped this guy have been way more experienced than Pat Brown. That's what you've got to take into consideration. It's going to be a tricky job matching Pat Brown, because it looks like he could compete with ranked contenders and actually beat some of them. But sometimes you push these prospects too fast, too early, you get a rude awakening. And Eddie is threatening to fast track Pat Brown. But how fast? I also wonder how long he can keep making cruiser, because he's got that heavy bone structure. He's a big cruiserweight. He definitely made an impression, an impressive American debut. Eddie, he's giving the impression that he wants to fast track, like I'm saying, but Jamie Moore, talking with Nigel Travis, says they want to take Pat through the traditional route. So that would mean the English title, British title, Commonwealth, Euro. It looks like they're targeting the winner of John Hedges versus Ellis Zorro for the English title. And I think that's a sensible step. Matchroom's Omari Jones in his hometown of Florida. 22 years of age. 4-0, 4 inside the distance. Took out the 12 3-0, never been stopped Tanzanian Yusuf Metu in the 3rd round with a spiteful display of hand speed. Scored a knockdown early with a sharp 1-2. At times, Omari almost glided around the ring like a ghost, then let his hands go with vicious salvos, great hand speed. A right hand in the 3rd on the already injured right eye had Metu sagging towards the ropes where he took a knee. The count reached 8 and he got up and the referee waved it off, which was a little strange. Stopping counts at 8 when it's supposed to be a 10 count. Metu was never going to win. Omari Jones is already mentioning names like Xander Zayas. It's a little early. All these kids want to go on the fast track now. But I've been impressed with what I've seen so far from Omari Jones. It was actually a ballsy move from Jordan Thompson to attempt to gate crash the WBA rankings, taking on the number 2 ranked from that organization. LENIER the Cuban. Jordan 2 years out since he was destroyed by Jarrell at cruiser. He's since had surgery, needed recuperation, and he gave it his best. Boxing 24 said a rusty Jordan Thompson, and I think that's a fair analysis. Couldn't quite get his timing and rhythm together. He tried to put his punches together, but he rarely landed a clean shot on the chin. It's a difficult fight to come back to. Perot, 12-0, ain't inside the distance. He's got a solid technique, good high guard, tucks his chin in well, goes to the body, decent punch picker, doesn't seem extremely fast with his hands or feet. His age could be against him, he's 34, but he could be a tough night for a lot of contenders. Could be. Hurt Jordan to the body early and hurt him to the head in the 9th and won a UD. Jordan, with Don Charles, shouldn't be discouraged from that defeat. And on the domestic scene, Eddie should be able to find him some decent work.
I've got to be honest with you. I think Jarrell Miller is a problem for the heavyweights out there. I think...
Sounds like Eddie Hearn saying Jarrell Miller.
I think he's a massive character and personality. I think he's a very, very tough guy to beat when he's fit. I think he can seriously fight. I'm just saying that. I wouldn't rule out necessarily working with him in the future. I've always thought that would be an impossibility, but time is a good healer. I think he's a problem. Tell me a guy that he wouldn't be a problem for in the top 5 in the heavyweight division. Fit. If he gets with the right guy, and I think Bozy could be that guy, I think he's a problem for a lot of the guys out there.
What happened to Eddie Hearn never working with Jarrell Miller again? He tried to hurt his friend AJ. All them kids he juiced up on. Eddie said time's a healer. Not with the media, boxing fans, it ain't. They're going to rip him apart. And hey, he's leaving himself fair game, but I think Eddie's kind of gone beyond giving a shit anymore. I think that's where he is with boxing. I think we're looking at LENIER Perot's next opponent potentially. Perot was signed with Matchroom, and I have a feeling he's hard to match. Miller might be that name that could build interest in a crossover fight for Perot. Jarrell Miller was ringside, and apparently him and Perot went back and forth. Perot said, yeah, we can do it. And Jarrell Miller, you know what he's on. Eddie is trying to compete with Frank Warren's stable right now, and that's a tough task. Frank's got some names there, so he's probably having to go back on his word and make nice with Jarrell Miller. They were all cozied up together in Florida. Tell you what though, if it goes pairs, Eddie's busted for juicing up on an Eddie Hearn promoted card. The British media are just going to pick up from where they left with Conor Benn. We'll see how thick Eddie Hearn's skin is then.